Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 27 of Be With Me in the book of 2 Corinthians. Today, titling this, Don't Miss This, because that's what Paul says to the Corinthians. I don't want you guys to miss this teaching. And it's about money and it's about giving. But really, it's about giving beyond money. And what he's going to do, he's going to compare another church's giving with the Corinthians. So he's comparing from a church about 150 miles away up the Macedonian Peninsula. And he's going to use that as a tool to compare and contrast, maybe, the giving of the Corinthian church. So he's using a church that's not them to put this in their face, if you will. And that's exactly what we still have the opportunity to do today. So we're comparing our giving, my personal wallet checkbook thing with the Macedonian church. Very convicting. It's a situation of practical circumstances, very tangible giving, and it allows us to kind of be affirmed or condemned in our giving, just like the Corinthians were. So listen in here. This is from 2 Corinthians chapter 8. I'm going to read the first 5 verses are about this Macedonia giving, and then the laser beam turns towards the Corinthian church in the verses 6 and 7. So I'm going to read 7 verses today. Verse 1, we want you to know, brothers, about the grace of God that has been given among the churches of Macedonia. For in a severe test of affliction, their abundance of joy and their extreme poverty have overflowed in a wealth of generosity on their part. For they gave according to their means, as I can testify, and beyond their means, of their own accord, begging us earnestly for the favor of taking part in the relief of the saints. In this, not as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord, and then by the will of God to us. So that's enough about the Macedonia giving. Now here's the focus on Corinth. Verse 6, accordingly, we urged Titus that as he had started, he should complete among you this act of grace. But as you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in all earnestness, and in our love for you, see that you excel in this act of grace also. That is the gift of the grace of giving. Okay, so the first thing that happens here is he's telling the Corinthian churches, I want you to know something. I don't want you to miss this. And kind of that's the impetus for this particular charge or teaching here today. It's important for the Corinthians to know about this, and it's important for us to know about us. Why? That is for our knowledge, and specifically, I think, for our comparison. So we are supposed to be comparing ourselves and considering this. And it's almost like a test. It was a test for the Corinthians, and I think it's a test for us today. Now, here's the Macedonian math, if you will. They started with a severe test of affliction, and then they added to it an abundance of joy, and then they added to it extreme poverty, and it resulted in an overflow of wealth, of generosity on their part. So let's review. Let's talk about their external circumstances. Severe test, affliction. Okay, let's talk about their internal attitude, abundance of joy. All right, let's talk about their apparent resources, their own personal resources, extreme poverty. So you add these 3 things together, their external circumstances, their internal attitude, and their apparent resources, and they end up with an overflow, a wealth of generosity on their part. So this is not some, mystical vapor, I wish you good thoughts and prayers. This has a measurable overflow of generosity and a practical and probably quantifiable generosity. So we can compare our circumstances. Are we in severe tests of affliction? We can compare our attitude, our internal mindset. Does it have an abundance of joy? And then we can compare our personal resources. Are we afflicted by extreme poverty at this moment in time? And then if you add these three things together, apparently you get this perfect ingredients for overflowing generosity. All right, verse 3. They gave according to their means. That is proportionally. And then added to it beyond their means. So their extreme poverty results in this overflowing. And this is of their own accord. So this is not compelled. They're compelled by joy, but not compelled by anything else. So I just want to mention it for a second. Tithing. Tithing is where you give 10% of your income to the Lord. And if you tithe, great, good for you. But probably, here's what I want to say about this, is if you use a tithe, that you are probably not going to ever get to this overflowing wealth of generosity. So it's tithe is a sort of a great place to start. And, as you plan on your giving, but there's something more in this. There's a hard attitude to this that a tithe doesn't quite quantify. All right, and then verse 4, they begged earnestly for this. And then they surprise Paul. It says, this wasn't as we expected, because the giving, so what is the giving to? It's giving to this generosity towards the Jerusalem church. That's one thing. But primarily, they gave themselves first to God, then they gave themselves to us, to leadership, and then they give money to represent all this stuff. Verses 6 and 7, so now he wants to complete this in you, this act of grace. Excel in all aspects of your life, faith, speech, knowledge, earnestness, and also in giving, in excelling in the right use of money, excel in the grace of giving, excel in the relief of our brothers and sisters. May this result in a testing and a proving of our love and our devotion to the Lord, to leadership, and to others. So this grace is kind of equated with giving. So this grace is only seen in the Lord, because this is the only place you can give to the Lord, overflow generosity, and then act in a very specific way. So my question today is, have you begged to give? Give yourself first to God. Give yourself to leadership, and then give generously. Why do I teach this passage today? It's because I don't want you to miss it, just like Paul. Thanks for listening.